The views expressed on this episode of the Came to Believe Recovery podcast do not necessarily reflect those of Take 12 Recovery Radio or its affiliate. The opinions on this show should not be taken as medical, psychological, or professional advice and are those of the host, co-host, and guest. Take 12 Recovery Radio is not affiliated with any particular 12-step fellowship.
Well, greetings, my friends. I am the Montyman from Take 12 Recovery Radio, and this is the Came to Believe Recovery Podcast. And now, here are your podcasting broadcasters, Tom Williams and Alicea Martinez, to introduce this week's show.
Hey, this is Alicea. Welcome to Came to Believe Recovery Podcast.
Hey, and this is Tom Williams, and welcome to our podcast where we will be talking about everything recovery, everything living in the go, everything solution-oriented, everything 12-step.
All the things, right? And our producer and host, of course, is here, the Monty Man.
I'm Monty.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Monty.
Hey, you guys. Great. This is technically this is show number 2.
2.
Right?
Podcast number 2. Yeah, two, right, Tom? Do that.
2 and 2.
2. Mm-hmm. 2. Minutes now. 2. Which you guys should be watching.
I bring that up because Tom does a little reel where it 2 minutes with Tom. Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
2 minutes with Tom. Yep.
Yeah.
And a little secret, guys, is it's 90 seconds. Because the reels won't post if they're longer than 90 seconds.
Right.
So
right.
I started doing that 2 minutes with Tom too, and I don't know. I did it just not even thinking. And my brother-in-law was like, "Oh, I love that. Keep doing that." So
Yeah.
I just keep
It's
doing
like
it.
your little trademark thing.
Now
or
it's
something.
like a thing.
Yeah. And then I do Mindset Minutes with Alicea, but I don't say that. I just say Mindset Minute. But again, it's 90 seconds.
And well, tell us. She sent me a screenshot of the impressions she's getting now. How many were there, Alicea?
There was like 700 or something. So wasn't it? It's slowly growing.
Wow.
But I'm still learning. I don't even know how to really do LinkedIn and all the things, but I'm figuring it out.
That's
Figure it out.
great.
Getting our word out, showing them that we have a podcast and we have retreats and they can check out the website. Yeah. And you can be recovered. So it's, yeah, it's fun. I know.
What?
Hopefully someone will say what and then go to the website and find us. Whether they
guys,
believe it or not.
All right.
Go ahead, Tom.
We're going to talk about powerlessness and unmanageability today, but we can't go on without talking about the retreat that we were all just at, guys. Alicea and I were up in Portland, and the Monty Man joined us actually at the retreat. We were actually in the Take 12 studios as well.
Yes.
What a wonderful
It was
experience
super
it was.
fun.
Yeah, to come to the studio and pull all of our headphones on and do some. We had a great podcast, which is going to be aired at some future date. I think Thursday. Right? Thursday,
yes.
guys. Join us to listen to that. The whole team from the retreat was on the podcast, and we were discussing a whole bunch of stuff that will either raise your hair on the back of your neck or make you applaud for us. Depends on where you come from.
And you can get that, folks. You can get that. Just go to take12radio.com and you'll see it. You can just click on it. You cannot miss the Came to Believe Recovery Podcast banner. It's like almost dead center on the page. So you can get it right there. Yeah, don't miss it. And please, I really want to make a push to our YouTube channel. We haven't paid much attention to that. It's kind of old school, but it is a lot of fun. A lot of people don't know that you can actually watch us, the different shows at Take 12 Radio and the Came to Believe podcast on YouTube. And it's simply youtube.com/ the little @ Take 12 Recovery Radio, or Monty Meyer, MONTYMEYER, either one, or just follow the links. That's the easiest thing to do. But it was really fun to have you guys all in the studio. A long time ago, we committed to set the studio up so we could have multiple guests, and we don't always fill it. So it's a treat when every microphone's taken, every headset's taken. So don't miss it, folks. It was a lot of fun. It was cool.
So the whole reason we were out there, guys, was we were out there to do this retreat in Portland and a City Team shelter. And City Team is a shelter, homeless outreach organization, recovery center, I guess, or resident recovery center. I don't know how they call themselves, but that has several locations in California and now in Portland. And I guess there's one in Pennsylvania too, we found out. But we've presented the retreats in the City Team shelters in San Jose several times, and Alicia and I have been. Alicia was at all but just the last one, and we were invited up to the City Team in Portland, and in we came. And very much like the others, although it varied in one respect, and that's that every single person there was completely engaged. We all had that experience. When we have retreats and people, come sign up and register and come to them, there's a level of interest and commitment just to sign up to come to a retreat. So there's a level of engagement that's at a certain level. But when you go into a shelter, you just don't know because they're all in there for different reasons. Right. And so we're ready for that, though. And we figured that they're going to hear it. But this was really something. We went in and what a special place. What a special thing that's going on. And you're just right down there on the street. Right, Alicia? I mean, literally.
Yeah, literally. Yeah.
I want to remark too. So John, the first night I asked Johnny and listeners, I took two of my sponsees, Johnny and Roddy. I said, what is your guys' first impression? And I said, let me be more specific. How do you feel that those that were attending were receiving it? And they both said that, well, they were cheerleaders kind of like, and they were kind of showing off, because they got new guests in the house and so on the way back on Sunday, I asked the same question. I said, how did you feel about the way it was received now? And he said, I think it was Johnny said something to the effect of, it went from them kind of being smart alecks and cheerleaders to they were really sincerely paying attention and they were plugged in. It was kind of a different, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
It totally does, Monty. And I mean, we kind of get that they don't know who we are and we're coming in to do this little thing. They have no idea about our competence or credibility, but the level of not my staff, the level of the staff and the teaching team that came, and Monty, you saw it, it's just off the charts. I mean, this is a group of people that are committed and knowledgeable and just, it's so sincere. It's not just, they're not just teaching something, they're really sharing their heart. And these guys picked it up, I think. And by Saturday, they knew, number one, they couldn't find a flaw in what we were saying, right? I mean, we had everything flaw. And that we kind of walked the talk, because as we spoke with them and interacted with them as the weekend went along, they realized we were the real thing. And we are.
Alicia, you did an amazing job. I mean, you were the only female there. Right? Amongst all these folks. and wow, I mean, you held your own, the way you presented. You did an excellent job. And both my sponsees, mentioned you several times and how much they enjoyed it. The whole team was amazing.
Yes. I just want to reiterate what you guys already said, but you can just feel, I felt the difference. This is my 18th retreat. And it was one of the top of reception of them, because when we're up there, you can tell people will get up, people fall asleep. I mean, it's just normal. We even train people in the speaking that it might happen. And they were just looking and kept attention, and it was just amazing to see that they were really wanting it and receiving the information.
Yeah.
It's true. And at the end, we got a lot of comments about the step 4 process, which is very eye-opening to most 12-step communities, the way that we present it, which is the way evidence-backed, guys, historical evidence is the way they were doing it back in the 30s. And the step 10, big time. People said step 10 was a real gift, that they hadn't understood the role of step 10 and 11 in the recovery, and that it was a freeing thing to know that once you finish 1 through 9, you're really working a step 10. And I really think that they got it, Alicia. This, we've made some pretty significant efforts in our teaching to really highlight the fact that if you do 10, 11, and 12, you got to do it, though. And if you do it, you will never drink or drug or act out again. It's what their experience was. So we're getting better and better. And based on the feedback, I think we're really we're as good as we ever were at it. I don't know what you thought, Alicia. She's frozen.
She freeze up on us?
She's frozen on me.
She is.
Well, sometimes her frozen and not talking, it's not always a bad thing.
I know. I keep my computer. I think I'm losing it. Something's going on.
But what were your impressions of their commenting on that step 10 was a big deal to them?
Yeah, I've thought that was exactly what we wanted, and we kept honing in. 10, 11, and 12, God does his part, yes, but you have to do yours. And we kept saying, this is your recovery assurance. If you want your recovery to be assured, then you need to do 10, 11, and 12. And we gave them homework sheets or sheets to kind of keep them on track as well. And yeah, we just hope, like we've said before, or I've said many times, like I wish that I could just stay there with them and make sure they're doing it.
Yeah.
But we can't. They have to take responsibility. And we just hope that they do.
Yeah, and we gave them some really practical steps to do it, because we know that that's a big deal to us. But there's a lot of information thrown at them over the weekend. And while people have different capacities to, as they would say, upload all this information, leaving them with some really practical tools, some really great things that they can actually do and start doing, from very, very, very simple to, not as simple, more holistic in the working of steps 10. I think we did a good job this time. What do you think, Monty? You were there for all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think 10, 11, and 12 is the area where you really sink your teeth in. It's the filet mignon of the steps, and it's interesting. Our show that we did yesterday with my co-host Roger McDermott was on 6 and 7, step 6 and 7, and I got a remark on the YouTube version. The guy did not agree with us, and that's fine. He kind of put an emphasis on 6 and 7 was like the filet mignon of the of the steps, and I'm like, no, and we talked about 6. Roger and I talked about 6 and 7 being, sometimes we just kind of whiz by those because they're so short in the big book, but they were meant to kind of whiz by. You touch on them, you understand them, and you keep going. They're like a little bridge, and then you start getting into 8 and 9, and then by the time you're at 10. You're at a place where you're ready to eat steak. You had to have milk before, but now you're ready to eat steak. And I think you guys presented that. You know what I wish, and I know it would be a costly venture, but wouldn't it be great if everybody could have a big book? I mean, if everybody got a big book, a paperback or whatever, so they actually had that stuff in their hand at the end of a retreat. I love it when 12-step meetings say, or AA meetings will say, don't leave here without a big book. You don't have one, we'll give it to you. And so that's something that I was thinking about. But gollies, you guys just did a bang up job. And I mean, it was easy to digest. It was eye opening. I mean, I've been working with people. I've been doing this thing for 26 years, and I think the key, as long as you remain teachable, then you're going to get stuff out of it. I got a ton out of it. And I had to miss a day because my back went out. So I got to tell you, yeah, it was great.
So that was it. We're ready to go again. We have one in New York City. Anybody that's listening to us in New York City, it's coming up April 5th through the 7th in Kips Bay, which is a section of New York City over on the east side. It's what we call a commuter retreat. Come and go home at night and come back the next day. If you're in the New York area, we'd love to see you. Come and go through the steps just the way we did it this weekend in Portland. And maybe you too can call yourself recovered.
And we have a virtual, right?
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Alicia.
We have a virtual retreat also in April, correct? The information would be on our website.
We do.
Yes, recovery.org.
Yes.
Yep. So I'm looking at it right now. So 5th through the 7th is the one in Kips Bay, and then April 19th through the 20th is the 2-day virtual.
Right.
Right. So, folks, go to cametobelieverecovery.org and just click on upcoming events, and you'll find all the information.
You know, the other thing, too, folks, is if you go to our YouTube channel and actually our website, again, we'll be uploading here really soon some of the testimonials from the weekend. We got permission from some of the guys that did short testimonials. If you want to see from their mouths what they thought, all, unrehearsed and off the cuff, what they felt the retreat did to them. It's really moving when you see and hear them say and watch their faces change, because they did, as it always happens.
Hey, I got a question for both of you.
Yes, I love the Yankees. I like the Yankees.
Yankees.
They won yesterday.
I don't think I don't think any of us, when we arrived there, could miss the elderly gentleman that was sleeping barely under any kind of covering right outside the city team front door.
Yeah.
He was there all day. He was there the next day. I'm not sure about the third day, but Johnny said he was there the next day too. And I know the topic on this episode is powerlessness and unmanageability. And I kept thinking about that. That guy's been on my heart for the last couple of days. Wow. Sound asleep, laying there.
Covered with a plastic thing for
it's
the
funny
rain.
that you say that, because I was telling someone this morning, Monty, about that same guy.
Oh, really?
Something touched me. We walked by him every day. Remember, Alicia, that guy? And every day, and I kept thinking, what's his story? Like, what happened? Yeah. What happened to him in his life? That's where he is. And he literally was laying there sleeping. I don't know if he got up to come in and eat when the shelter opens up for the people that are outside.
Did.
But because we weren't really there when they opened it up. They wanted that we kind of went upstairs or went away.
Yeah.
Well, that's something,
well,
Mark. You got to think about that, why this is touching us so much. Maybe there's something we're supposed to be doing about it.
Alicia?
I was just going to say, I just want to clarify that they didn't just leave him there. I mean, he was out there. Yeah. But every night they ate at 5, and then they brought the people from outside in. If they had a voucher, I mean, they had to have something, I guess. And then they mopped the floors and brought in a certain number, 30 maybe, and they slept there, the men, they're all men. And then they gave them breakfast, and then they went back outside. So they're helping them as well. And then even women on Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 1 to 3 p.m., I think, they can come in, no men, they can eat, shower, and then go back outside. And then I asked, well, where do they sleep? And they didn't know. But I'm sure there's women's shelters somewhere where they can sleep as well. I mean, they can only do so much. Yeah. But it's amazing that they have all these things and practices in place. And they number them. They make sure they have a blanket. They make sure they don't take the blanket. And I saw those signs, like if they took a blanket, then they're 30 days, they cannot have services. So they're like monitoring and as much as they can and feeding them and helping them. And then, Tom, you asked them, do any of those that come in ever come up a notch and then live there? And they said, yeah, right? But then it's hard for them sometimes to stay clean. So then they have to not let them come in. But I'm sure they're hoping that would happen, that they come in and then they might think, well, I want to stay here. So hopefully they'll be able to do that, but they have to get off the substances to do it.
They do have to be substance free to stay in the shelter.
So I don't know if you know. I know Alicia saw this unfold. So when I was education coordinator out at the Adult and Teen Challenge Center in the Willamette Valley, a gentleman came in by the name of Tommy. And Tommy had been, he was a mess. I mean, this guy, he was best buddies with the chief of police in Junction City. That's how well he knew the law enforcement. And he ended up in Teen Challenge, went through the program, had some hiccups. Ended up in Estacada, up in Portland area, at Teen Challenge, and then started working with people and started feeding homeless and rubbing shoulders with people in places like City Team. I hadn't seen Tommy. I didn't know what had happened to him, and he wasn't going to stop by City Team that day. He was walking by, and he said, I felt a nudge from the Holy Spirit just to go in because I had just seen a gnome in somebody's yard, and I thought of Monty because Monty collects gnomes. And I thought, I wonder what's up with him. I wonder if he's okay. I'd like to kind of find out how I could track him down. And he felt this nudge to go in, and then he felt another nudge to go upstairs. And he turned the corner, and there I was. He had no idea, And I mean, it was a sweet reunion. And I looked at her. I saw Alicia. You saw it. You had a big smile on your face. You could tell something really cool was going on. And here he is, going through a phase of the City Team program and in the process helping other people. And I just, man, that's the kind of stuff that you go, this is why we do what we do.
It is why we do what we do. It's hard to explain. I was telling some others today, I don't know what to tell you about it if you weren't there. I mean, transformation, the heart, the watching hope rise. I mean, how to feel about it. It's just hard to explain.
Yeah.
But it's a God thing. When you touch some people, when we truly touch some people, not everybody gets touched. Well, I think they all do at some level, but some really grab a hold of it. And we can almost assuredly say we walk away and saved somebody's life. Somebody turned from whatever was going to go really badly and didn't. We know that happens in the regular retreats, what we call non-shelters, but the shelters, I think, have even greater opportunities. A handful of them, 6 or 7, only were there a couple days, guys. They just were there a couple of days. And so these were really fresh. These were not people, they were right off the street or out of jail.
Yeah.
But that's off the street in my book, I think. I didn't meet anybody longer than 4 months there. I don't know if you did. The longest was 4 months. I've been hearing a lot of things like this for years and years and years. I've never heard this go like this. It made so much sense. It flows one to the other. It just seems right. And, just more confirmation that we got to keep going. And with help and support and prayers from all of you out there, we can. The shelter retreat was funded by the Ben Lucas Foundation. We present it without cost, but it's not free. I always say we do it for free, but it's not free. And the Ben Lucas Foundation here in New York City, well, they're actually from St. Louis, but one of the board members is here in New York City, was generous enough. I met him at the gym a month ago and said, we're looking for a way to go to this one in Portland, and we just need X amount of dollars, and it just covers the expenses for all of us to go. And he basically wrote the check while I was standing there at 6:30 in the morning at a gym. And so this is how we are able to do these kind of things. So if you're in such a position where you would like to come and see more of these things happen, you can go to cametobelieverecovery.org, and there's a donate button somewhere, or reach out to Monty at Take 12 Radio, and he can funnel you to us. Anyway,
absolutely.
Shameless sale pitch, but it's not
I
really
want to say
how we do
one
it.
more thing before we move on to our topic of the day, of how, and this happened at other shelters as well and other retreats, but not expected maybe from my ignorant vantage point, but they're so grateful. And even before they knew us, thank you so much. They shook our hand. I'm blah, blah, blah. And thank you for coming. And thank you for doing this for us. And then giving us hugs all the way through it. Like, can I just hug you? And thank you so much. And it's just so beautiful to see. And they're so genuine and humble and grateful. And you can just see it. I mean, you can't fake that. You really can't.
And these are the same people that many of us at one time in our lives, maybe some that are listening right now, will drive down the street and go, yeah, look at that guy. Well, he got himself into that. You know, he'll have to get himself out. What a shame. Bless his heart. Just in a sarcastic, negative tone. You don't know these people till you get to know these people. They're somebody's son, somebody's daughter. I mean, oh my gosh, yeah, it was overwhelming to see the love pouring out of these guys.
You know, and they were, a lot of them were parents. They all had girlfriends or wives or something, and these little kids. And boy, the opportunity for us to try to make them better parents or get them back into being a parent, how could that be bad? That can do nothing but good.
Amen.
So powerlessness and unmanageability. You know, maybe that gentleman that touched both you and I, Monty, and that Alicea saw, certainly would probably say they're powerless and unmanageable, laying on the floor in front of a shelter. But how did we know? There was a point where I was that way. You know, we want to know how do you know? How did you know? When did you know? Alicea and I were at the airport the other night. On our way out, we went opposite directions, obviously, but we were talking about when did we know, you know, that we were powerless and unmanageable. We can speak from ourselves. We can talk also about what other people have told us. But how was it for us? When did you know, Alicea, that you were powerless? Like you were, and were they at the same time? Because they were not for me.
I would probably say probably the same time, because I was sober. I've been 30, almost 30 years from alcohol, but I kept my other addiction. So I obviously did not think that I was powerless or unmanageable. I thought I was managing fine. And so I would say 5.5 years ago, October 2018, or you know, right around that time, that's when I took my chip for eating disorders. So I would say around there was just, I can't do it anymore. I was married for 5 years at that point, lying, hiding. I was 48. And how long can I do this? You know, I'm getting older and exercising my life away still. And I'm tired and I'm miserable and emotionally just broken. But I didn't think it was going to work. You know, I was like, how is God going to take this away? It's just not. But I was like, I just have to believe. And so I took that chip October 26th, 2018, and just went, yeah. And then also August, so a few months before that, I joined this program to become a health and wellness life coach. And which was totally a God thing. Now I can see, because I wanted to help other people, but it actually helped me because I was like, how can I coach other people when I'm starving myself and doing all these things? So then that was August. So by October, I was like, okay, I can't do this. I can't do it anymore. So all those things together, and not saying I was done on that day. It was hard, and it was really hard. But that's when I realized I was powerless and unmanageable. My life was a mess. My thoughts were a mess. Just 5 years ago. So I'm pretty new at this stuff.
Pretty good. I think, and I always relay this when I'm on stage teaching step one, especially, is that I knew I was powerless and I didn't drink like everybody else pretty quick. I mean, I knew I drank alcoholically early on. I would have said, yeah, and I would have recognized this phenomenon of craving, this thing that I can't stop, and I would have told you, yeah, once I get started, I just can't stop. But that my life was unmanageable, that came later, guys. That was not as easy a leap, because then it would mean that, you know, not a man, and you're not, you know, there's some semblance of control that we have to keep. And as soon as you're unmanageable, that's when I figured I would have to do something about it. Right? Just drinking alcoholically, whatever. And I'm sure that if I was really honest, I was telling Alicea, if I looking back today, guys, the first night I drank alcohol, I drank to a blackout, uncontrollably, unmanageably, and blew everything. The whole situation went to you know what. If I had today, I can tell you I was unmanageable from day one. Not just that I drank alcoholically and was an alcoholic, but I was out of control and unmanageable from day one. Never would have recognized it back then. I might have told you, boy, that drinking went really well last night on bad, right? That was something. But I don't know that I'd have told you I was unmanageable. But then it was a month before I quit, which is when I really conceded I knew I was unmanageable. I couldn't do anything about it, which is common because I was so down, guys. I knew I was unmanageable, but now what am I going to do about it? And it just went down for a month until I got to that place where I really hit a bottom and I did it. But I think drink alcoholically, pretty quick on, unmanageable a month before I got sober.
Yeah. Now that you say that out loud, I think I'm in the same boat. I'm going to copy your answer. Because I knew I had a problem with the alcohol. I knew I was eating. I mean, I knew that and who teaches and runs and all day long? Nobody. I mean, that's craziness. But I was like, well, I don't know what else to do. This is me. I'm just going to keep going, thinking maybe one day it would just go away somehow, but it didn't. Yeah.
And then it's that unmanageability. That's when I was ready to do something about it. It was a humbling experience, but I got to this place where I can't do anything else. How much worse could it, I'm done. I can't do anything more. I'll be dead. I would have been on that guy laying in front of the city team shelter. I don't know, guys, maybe just days away from that being the option that I'd have been. And I just was fortunate enough to have some people around me that propped me up quick enough that I got a handle on this program, introduced right away, was handed a big book, and I was handed a Bible. All of you that don't, just is what it is. They were doing that back then. Got handed a Bible, and I was taken immediately through the steps, and things turned around. But it was that unmanageability that was the key to turn me.
Yeah.
So how can you tell someone's ready? Or how can you tell someone's unmanageable? How can we tell someone else that?
I don't think we can tell them, right? We have to get them to see it.
But do you think there's anything, we were talking about this, right, Alicea? Like when someone comes up to us and says they're done, we've seen many, not so many, but quite a few, and I'm sure you have too, Monty, who say, I've had it, I've had enough, I can't do it. And then they go back out.
Yeah.
And what is the level of unmanageability? What is the level that actually turns somebody? I don't know that there's an answer, right? It's different for everybody. But how do we know? I don't know. And I've seen sponsors, some friends of mine, get very personally caught up, guys, in people that they invested too deeply in and that were just pulling their chain the whole time. And then they went out. So I'm very skeptical at the beginning, unfortunately, when someone comes to me and proclaims their, desire to quit. I got to see some action behind it. Experience has told me. So I don't know. I think later we say, yeah, they were ready, but I don't know how we tell at the beginning. What do you think, Monty?
I'm with Alicea. I don't know that we can.
Yeah.
The big book says things like being convinced.
Right.
Blah, fill in the blank. Being convinced. It says it several times. And, I thought I had power. Personally, me. I remember the first time I got into a wreck, totaled my little Volkswagen Bug from driving just hammered out of my mind. And I was in my first year of community college. And I remember waking up in the hospital, and my mother is standing over me, and she's going, my dad's name was Robert. She goes, Bob, I think they gave him an alcohol rub down. Do you smell that? And I thought to myself, right then and there, I thought to myself, I got them snowed, right? And here I was at death's door. So I did not think I was powerless. I thought I had power, man. And when I discovered my first drink, I was like, I've arrived. This is euphoria. This is, I've got total control on this thing. So I don't know. You know, when I'm working with somebody, one of the things I ask them if hopefully I'm making the approach. I'm not waiting for them to come to me, but if that happens, I'll sit down with them and say, listen, we need to sit down over coffee or breakfast. I'll take you out for pie or whatever, and I need to know what you want from me, and I'll let you know what I can offer. And I'll let them know right off the bat, look, I'm not a marriage counselor. I'm not your loan officer. I'm not your taxi service. I'm not any of that stuff. You know, my job as a sponsor is to take you through the steps so you can experience a spiritual awakening as a result of those steps and make a connection with a power greater than yourself to help you solve your problem. That's my job. And so my question for you is, and let's say alcohol, when you drink, do you have no control over how much or how often you drink once you put it in your body? Yep, that's me. Okay. But let me ask you a more important question. When you're sober, stone cold sober, are you able to stay that way? And if they hesitate, that's a no. You know, but some will say, no, absolutely not. I said, okay, then you very well may be the real deal. And if you are the real deal, if you truly are an alcoholic, then you're going to be powerless over it. You're going to be. Now that's kind of a hard pill to swallow, right? That you're powerless.
Right.
And I'll tell them, look, you see all those people. We just came out of a meeting, and all those people say they're powerless, and I say I'm powerless. So 0 + 0 = 0. So your problem isn't alcohol. Your problem is you're powerless. So are you interested in receiving power, you know, to help you solve your problem? And if they say yes, or you know that old question, are you willing to go to any length to stay sober or to stay clean? And they say yes. When they give that initial yes, they say it for the most part because they're supposed to, and they think that. They have no idea what that means.
Right.
So I ask them every week, you know, and are you still willing to go to any length? And that does not mean you're going to wax my car and mow my lawn. That's abuse.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not being a sponsor. So I don't know, brother. I think we discover it as we go. I've sponsored people that a good couple of weeks in, I've realized, hey, this guy's he's a heavy drinker. He's not an alcoholic. You know, but I'll still work with him because, you know, these steps, they're amazing. They'll work for anybody who wants to change their life. But yeah,
I think, you know, and in the end, I'm agreeing with you guys. We can't make that choice for others. We can for ourselves. And
yeah,
one of the things that I think is this thing we can't measure is this conceding to your innermost self. We can't see into anyone's innermost self. And we can say we're alcoholic. I mean, how many times did I say they can tell us intellectually, yeah, I'm alcoholic, yeah, my life's unmanageable. But when did you concede to your innermost self? You know, who are we when no one's around? What Alicea said. You loved that, right, Monty? You remember that?
yes.
Alicea said, he poked me and he goes, ugh, she's got to go there or something. But who are we? Well, it's a really great question. It's rubber the road. Who are you when no one's around? Right? We often say to people, listen, you can lie if you want to. We're going home. You know, you're going to go. It doesn't hurt us at all, your lie. So it's going to hurt you if you don't tell us. But that conceding to your innermost self, it's what you say to yourself in the dark when you go home. Are you really it or aren't you? And I know that I did it. I can tell you, I can close my eyes and have the picture come up. I was all alone. I'm done. I can't do this. I conceded to my innermost self, and I was pleading at the time. I don't know that I would have told you that now, but I was. But that's what the Big Book says. You had to, that was a requirement, right? You had to concede to your innermost self that you were alcoholic or an addict.
When did you start? You might not know. Maybe you will, Tom. When did you start telling your family and stuff after that point?
They all
like
knew.
Immediately or no?
Yeah. Well, they all
did
knew.
you tell them? Right, but when did you admit to them that, okay.
Very quickly afterwards. Because amends came quickly. I was instructed with family. Amends had to come quickly. I mean, I made phone call to family quickly. as I was instructed, and it was a start of an amends, but what it was a quick, hey, I just wanted to let you know I'm really sorry, and there's some work coming, but I've quit drinking and I am going through a program. I started with that kind of thing, and then I think I revisited with some other amends as time went on. But the family knew very, very quickly. Within a week, everybody, I had told my brothers and sisters, anyway, within a week.
Did they really know what that meant? Did they really know what that meant when you told them you were powerless, you were an alcoholic, you were an addict and all that? Did they understand
Honestly,
that?
Monty, I'm not sure they do now.
Yeah.
I'm really
Me
not
either.
sure they really understand. I just don't think they do. I have some nieces and nephews that were alcoholic and have recovered, and they do. It's that thing. They're not one of us. I hate to kind of be the us and them thing.
Yeah.
But there's a thing. I don't know that they do. You tell them about how powerless and how much. It's like, Monty, when I go and speak some places, and I speak really openly about the drinking I did, and later they are all like, oh my gosh, you're so transparent. I can't believe you share that stuff with other people. And then we share it at the retreats, and everybody laughs and jokes and kids because we get it.
It's our
so
people.
I think that's what you're asking. Do they really get it? I think in some cases too, if they really got it, they'd be more empathetic and they might take amends quicker than they sometimes take.
Aren't they even supposed to, though? All
right.
Part of me says, well,
Fair question.
If you have cancer and I don't have cancer, you're going to understand your cancer in a way I never will until I do. And if I never have it, I am not going to understand like you understand. And nor should I have to. Right? It's not my responsibility to understand your illness. It's your responsibility to get well. But the flip side of that, I think, isn't it great when parents and children and all that can rally around you and want to understand it, and maybe go to meetings, and whether it's Al-Anon or whatever it is, and get to understand it. That's a wonderful thing. But if they don't, we can't hold that against them.
And that's just several really great points, Monty. And I know we're going into this, but the people wonder about this. I've had people come to me 90 days sober, right? They drank for 20 years with a family member or a wife or a husband. And then at 90 days, we're throwing them a party. And the wife or husband says, what do I get for dealing with you for 20 years?
Right. Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So they don't understand. These dynamics come. So it speaks right to what you're saying. How much does that matter in our recovery? And how tough is that for some people who a spouse will say, it was your problem. It was never mine. And they don't want to get involved. I've seen that many times, sometimes more than not, where they say, and then where's my party for 20 years of doing it? And hey, fair enough, right? In some case, right? Fair enough. They carried the family. And so this amends thing, this coming out of this fog, it can be, we've got to take our own road, and not everybody does ever understand. And it can't be our dependent on our recovery, whether everybody understands.
I got to share this. I was sitting in a birthday meeting. Some meetings they'll do it once a month and like get a cake and all that. I'm sitting in this meeting, and the lady sitting next to me was the wife of my sponsor. And he was celebrating, I think he was celebrating like 8 years or something like that. And all these people were giving him accolades and, blessings and praise and all this stuff. She leans over at me and she goes, they don't know the SOB.
Mm-hmm.
She was ticked.
Mm-hmm. See?
Yeah. Well, does that mean he's not living the program?
No.
Now?
No.
Just
But
she knew him before.
She was, even after 8 years, she wasn't at a place where she was willing to have a, what a good boy party.
Let me tell you another story. It's kind of like that, Monty, but my family, I think that they were happy I wasn't drinking, and they intellectually said they understood in family. But I'll tell you, even at 10 years, if I slipped a little, if I did something a little out of character, it raised the radar on them. The people that were the closest during that time and that knew me in the drinking, even after 10 years, And I had to shake off some resentment and call my sponsor. I said, "Are you kidding me? 10 years. What else do I have to do?" And he said, 10 more years, brother. He said, "They didn't,
right?
you made them that way. What does it
Yeah.
matter?"
Because
Move
so
on.
many people do
Right?
fall and go back. So
Well, how many
kinda like-
times did we tell him it was over? Even 10 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
I had a sponsee who the wife had a home breathalyzer,
Yeah.
and made him take it all the time, right? So he gets sober, and he's 30 days, 60 days, 90. He comes up to me, I've been sober. She still makes me take it. If I'm 5 minutes late, and he's moaning about that. And I said, so you drank for 20 years, and you think 30 days, she's changed her mind about you? Plus, how many times have you tried this and told her this? I said, here's my suggestion. I said, when you walk in the door 5 minutes late, go over to the drawer, pick up the breathalyzer before she asks you, and blow in it. What do you care? You don't know how far that'll go. He didn't want to do that. I said, watch to see how far that goes. And
all right, we're good. We got to take a short break.
Sure.
Hold that thought. So we're leaving off here before the break. With the guy is going to go and take the breathalyzer before she interacts with that whole situation to see what happens. Don't go away. We'll be right back right after this. Hey there, it's the Montyman from Take 12 Recovery Radio. Have you been struggling with addictions and behaviors that seem to have you stuck and without hope? Well, here's my question. How soon do you want to get well? Well, I'd like to introduce you to Came to Believe Recovery and the amazing retreats that are designed to jumpstart your recovery by offering the chance to go through the steps that have worked for hundreds of thousands of us since they were first described over 80 years ago. This 3-day weekend retreat gives you an immersive opportunity to achieve a spiritual awakening that leads to hope and freedom. For retreat dates and locations and much more, visit cametobelieverecovery.org. That's cametobelieverecovery.org. Freedom is waiting for you. The question is, what are you waiting for?
Hey guys, this is Richie Supa, and you are listening to Take12Radio.com, recovery talk and positive music.
Well, welcome back to the show. Tom Williams is here, along with Alicea Martinez, both from Came to Believe Recovery. cametobelieverecovery.org, of course, as you just heard, is the website. And we left off talking about, hey, listen, to do the breathalyzer before the little woman asks you to do and see what happens. Watch what happens. So did he do that, Tom?
I think he did it a couple times.
Yeah.
And, he relapsed since, so he wasn't ready. He didn't take that
Right.
advice anyway, but he tried it a couple times. It's just so common that this thing comes up, guys, where the person recovering wants everybody to forgive them and to go normal very, very quickly. And the people that have been hurt don't want to give up very, very quickly. It's... And the ones I've seen the most success myself, especially with, I got to tell you, I've seen more divorces come after people got recovered because the one side or the other just can't deal with it. And they realize they don't even like each other anymore. You know
what? I heard a story about a guy who when he was drinking and using, he was Mr. Lovable. He was Mr. Grumpy Pants when he was sober. But when he's drinking and losing, he's Mr. Lovable. He was easygoing. He was always giving his kids money. Then he got clean and sober. And Johnny wants $20, and he's going, I'm not giving you $20. That's irresponsible. And all of a sudden he's this whole other person, and now the family's getting real sick because they don't know how to deal with this new dad. Who's this guy? Right? It's kind of like the reformed smoker. Who are you to tell me to quit smoking? You've only been smoke free for a week. Well, you really need to quit. You stink.
Right.
People don't take that well.
They don't.
No. Then we hear stories too of people that the wife or the codependent or whatever will go to meetings for the husband. I'm going for you. It's for you. I know many of these women. It could go the other way, but I know a lot of women. And then they listen to the speakers and the steps and they're like, oh, I need to be here too. Because I have self-pity and I have resentment and I have anger. And so they do the steps too. And now they're in Came to Believe meetings or CODA or something, because I think everyone needs to do the 12 steps.
So,
Amen.
Everyone.
and guys, just that's a great point, Alicia, because the wife of this situation, the one who was doing the not giving up so easy, I said, when I heard the whole, it's his problem, not mine. I said, oh yeah? I said, you let him do this for 20 years.
Right?
Why'd you put up with it?
How did that happen? Yeah.
Why'd you put up with it for 20 years? Something about it you liked. Yeah, when he's drinking and hammered and all, he's not watching you and you're the boss of the household or something. Yeah, that didn't go over too well, guys. But truth hurts. I said, it's a family disease, guys. We recognize it. They recognized it back then. Back then, the husbands, the wives, and the kids came to the fellowship. They all came. They all grew together, and we find that too. And it's open, guys, to everybody. You come to our retreat, bring your wife, bring your husband. We might separate you for group work and
We
get
do
you on
separate them for
But
group
it's
work.
so
But they will
important
be
for
hearing
everyone.
the same.
Yeah, number one, to be involved in your recovery, and number two, realize they have stuff to recover from too, most likely.
Let me ask you guys.
Yes. Go ahead.
Let me ask you guys a question. I'll start with Alicia. Have you ever thought, and then hold on to this question, Tom, so I want you to answer too. Have you ever thought that it would have been more accurate if they would have, in step one, they would have said, I admitted my life was unmanageable and I'm powerless over alcohol or whatever as well? That it was flipped, that the unmanageability was first?
You put me on the spot with a hard question. Go, Tom. I don't know. What do you think, Tom?
Tom?
Well, it's the unmanageable part that was the key. Until I got there, I didn't do anything. So my life is unmanageable. What was the real problem? Unmanageable. This is where I'm unpacking this, Monty. Thank you for bringing that. That's something for everybody to think about. What was the real problem, right? The unmanageability, the powerlessness. Alcohol was the symptom, the drugs, the whatever. I don't know. I think you're onto something. Maybe we should submit it as they're rewriting the big book, right? Anyway, I think, what do you think?
Correct.
Yeah, what do you think, Monty? You brought the question.
Well, so, yeah, until I was able to admit that my life was unmanageable, I wasn't going to do anything about the symptom. There
you go.
So we talk a lot about, you hear it in conventions all the time. Well, there's the hyphen, and how important the hyphen is, the thing in between the alcohol and the unmanageability. So when my first introduction to steps and meetings and all that, there was an emphasis on the alcohol. Interestingly enough, that's only mentioned one time in the steps, and it's in step one. The emphasis, though, was always on the alcohol or the narcotics or the whatever the symptom was. Oh, and by the way, my life's unmanageable. When the unmanageability should have been screaming at me. Because I was convinced I was powerless. I was like you, Tom. I was convinced very early I was powerless over the substance and substances when I put them in my body. But it took a lot more to convince me, right, that I was struggling when I was stone cold sober. I was standing, I tell a story about all the time. I was standing in front of an ATM machine. It had a mirror above it. And I was standing in front of it, getting money out to go buy substances that I shouldn't be taking. And I looked in the mirror and I said, this time it'll be different. This time I'm only going to take $20 out. And I said that stone cold sober, stone cold clean. Right?
Wow.
People that are not drug addicts, people that are drug abusers, people that are not alcoholics or heavy drinkers, they don't think that way.
They don't.
They don't have a reason to. So I don't know. For me, I had to understand my unmanageability first.
Well, there you go, guys. Powerlessness and Unmanageability. What a great show. I think we hit it good. I think really profound stuff. You know, we'd love to hear from you. Reach out to Came to Believe Recovery if you want. I'm sure you could reach out to Take 12 Radio. We'd like to hear from you. How do we hear comments, Monty? How do we answer to comments if people have stuff?
If you're on YouTube, you can comment on the YouTube channel. If you're listening on any of the podcasts on any of the major podcasting platforms, some of them do have comment sections. I know Podomatic does. That is our main one that goes out to Apple and iTunes and all those guys. Or you can just send us an email. You go to cametobelieverecovery.org and click on the contact link. Or send us an email at take12radio@comcast.net. That's TAKE, the number 12, radio@comcast.net. All right, our closing song this week, and I keep thinking about that gentleman that was sleeping outside of City Teen, of the homeless shelter there. This song is entitled God of Unlikelies. Are you an unlikely? It's by Blake Bullerjack. Here's Blake.
God of abandoned, rejected, betrayed. God of the hopeless, brought life to this clay. God of aborted, unwanted and plain. A God of the children who never get named. God of unlikelies and God of no chance. Bids beggars to beg.
God of Unlikelies. That's Blake Bollerjack bringing a message worth depth and weight. Now listen, addiction is about powerlessness, but recovery is about power. His power. You know, our problem really isn't the substances. Our issue is that we're powerless. So our solution is that we need a power. Came to Believe Recovery strives to create and promote opportunities for life-changing spiritual experiences for individuals and families suffering from all forms of addiction. For more information, help, and support, visit cametobelieverecovery.org. I'd like to thank you for allowing me to be your host on this episode of the Came to Believe Recovery podcast. And I would encourage you to like, bookmark, and subscribe to this show. When you do, you will join the Take 12 Recovery Radio family and will be notified of all of our recovery-focused shows throughout the week. Until our next broadcast, when we provide the essential spiritual tools needed to thrive by sharing our experience, our strength, and our hope through our stories of how we came to believe.
This has been a production of Take 12 Recovery Radio.
Kitty, kitty, kitty. Meow.
Woof, woof.
This has been a Chicken and a Pig production.